10 Unexplained Disappearances of Ships. Welcome to Arvin Polo Television. There have been ships recorded in history that suddenly disappeared without any clear reason. Some of the possible reasons for their sudden disappearance are sinking, mechanical problems, and others. And most of these cases have caused great mystery, especially among scientists. But what is really the reason behind these incidents? And what is the ship that suddenly disappeared? And in this video, we will discover the 10 mysterious disappearances of ships that happened in our history. So let's get started. Number 1. United States ship Cyclops. The United States ship Cyclops was a protected cruiser of the United States Navy that became famous because of its mysterious disappearance in March 1918. It was a collier or a warship used to deliver coal to other Navy ships. The Cyclops was built on May 7, 1910 at the William Cramp & Sons shipyard in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and it was commissioned on May 1, 1910. During World War II, the Cyclops became part of the Naval Overseas Transportation Service, transporting essential supplies to various locations. Meanwhile, in February 1918, the Cyclops sailed from Rio de Janeiro to Baltimore, Maryland. On board were 10,800 tons of manganese ore. This is a mineral that is important in making bullets. In addition, the ship was also carrying 390 people, including officials, crew, and some passengers. The Cyclops stopped in Barbados to take on more supplies and left there on March 4, 1918. After that, the Cyclops was never seen again, and no further communication was received from it. Because of this, many theories emerged about the sudden disappearance of the Cyclops. Some say that an attack by a German U-boat was the reason for its sudden disappearance, but there is no solid evidence to prove this. Related to this, the disappearance of the United States ship Cyclops happened in the middle of World War I. That's why the possibility that this ship was indeed attacked cannot be ruled out. However, no trace of the ship or the bodies of its passengers was ever found. In addition, there is another theory that says the ship's structural integrity was compromised because of the excessive weight of its cargo, which was manganese ore. This may have caused the ship to break apart while they were in the middle of the ocean. It is also said that there may have been problems with its engine and other parts of the ship. Likewise, the captain of the Cyclops, Lieutenant Commander George W. Worley, was accused of incompetence and lack of discipline. That's why that tragedy happened. Despite this, the disappearance of the United States ship Cyclops also gave rise to many speculations and legends. Just like the stories of the Bermuda trips, where many ships and planes disappeared after passing through here. The Bermuda Triangle is a place in the Atlantic Ocean formed by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Although many missing ships and planes have been linked to the Bermuda Triangle, most experts believe that the disappearance of Cyclops was caused by natural factors such as storms and mechanical failure. Number 2. Mary Celeste. The Mary Celeste was a brigantine ship that became one of the most famous cases of sudden ship disappearances at sea. The Dei Gratia found it abandoned in the Atlantic Ocean on December 4, 1872. But the ship was still almost intact and had enough food and water for 6 months. But there was no trace of the passengers or crew there. Thus began the journey of the Mary Celeste. From New York to Genoa, Italy, on November 7, 1872, it was led by Captain Benjamin Briggs along with his wife, daughter, and others. But despite their abilities, their sudden disappearance still cannot be explained. And when the ship was found, they only saw a few strange signs, like a damaged lifeboat, a missing chronometer, sextant, and some slightly broken equipment used for navigation. Because of this, different theories emerged about the disappearance of the crew of Mary Celeste. Some say that the crew might have abandoned the ship because they were afraid that the barrels of alcohol being carried by the ship might explode. but there's no evidence an explosion or fire happened there. Aside from this, there are also theories that say the disappearance of the ship might have been caused by sea monsters. But just like other theories, there is no evidence to prove this. Aside from that, natural explanations like strong waves and waterspouts are believed to be the reason why it suddenly disappeared. However, some experts have suggested that there may have been a malfunction in the ship's pump system. But despite the investigations and the rumors about it, there is still no clear explanation as to what really happened to Mary Celeste. And for its passengers, the SS Warata was a steamship built in 1908 by the Blue Anchor Line, a British shipping company that provided service between Australia and the United Kingdom. The ship was named Warata, a type of endemic flower in Australia, which symbolizes the deep connection between Australia and Great Britain. The ship had a capacity of carrying 6,000 tons and was 152 meters long. It also had 2 engines powered by steam and could carry 750 passengers. The SS Warata began its maiden voyage from London to Sydney in November 1908 and successfully reached its destination. However, on July 27, 1909, during its second voyage, the Warata disappeared while traveling from Durban to Cape Town in South Africa. The ship was last seen by the Bukit, the ship Clan McIntyre, on July 27, 1909, after sailing from Durban. Since then, the Warata has never been seen again, along with its 211 passengers and crew. Because of this, the disappearance of the SS Warata became a mystery in maritime history. Various theories emerged to explain its sudden disappearance. Aside from that, there were also speculations that the Warata might have experienced a sudden catastrophe, such as a strong storm or an undersea volcanic eruption, which caused the ship to sink quickly. Because the Indian Ocean is known for sudden storms, and the South African coast is part of the shipwrecked coast due to its dangerous waves and weather. But despite the investigations and searches they conducted using modern technology, the SS Warata still hasn't been found. In addition, in 1999, an investigation was conducted led by Emlyn Brown, a marine explorer. But no clear evidence was found to determine the exact location of the Warata. The SS Marine Sulphur Queen was a steamship funnel known for its sudden disappearance in February 1963. While traveling from Beaumont, Texas to Norfolk, Virginia, the ship was originally built in 1944 as a T2 tanker called SSSO New Haven. But in 1960, it was modified to carry sulfur, so its name was changed to SSSO. Meanwhile, the Sulphur Queen was 524 feet long. It had the capacity to carry 15,262 gross tons. It was one of the first ships built to transport molten sulfur using tanks heated by steam to keep the sulfur in liquid form. In addition, the total crew on board the ship was 39. Furthermore, on February 23, Marine Sulphur Queen departed from Beaumont, Texas, bound for Norfolk, Virginia. The last report about its location was received on February 4, 1963, stating that it was near the Florida Straits. After that, no further communication was received from the ship. Because of this, on February 6, 1963, the United States Coast Guard conducted an extensive search, but no trace of the ship or even its crew was found, and only debris, a life jacket, and a life ring marked Marine Sulphur Queen were found. As a result, the disappearance of the Marine Sulphur Queen caused a lot of rumors and issues. Meanwhile, there's a theory that says the ship had structural weaknesses, which is why it suddenly disappeared. In fact, this ship was known for having many safety issues, such as cracks in its tanks and in other parts of the vessel. In addition, the condition of the sea at that time was not very good, so it's possible that it sank due to structural failure. However, there is another theory that says the possible explosion of the sulfur on board the ship may have caused it to sink quickly. Number 5. Motor vessel Joyita. The motor vessel Joyita is a 69-foot luxury yacht that became famous because of its mysterious disappearance in 1955. This yacht was built in 1931 in Los Angeles, California, and was first used as a movie yacht and later also used in United States Navy missions during World War II. But after the war, it was used as a commercial boat in the islands of the South Pacific. And on October 3, 1955, the motor vessel Joyita left the port of Apia, Samoa, heading to Tokelau with 25 passengers and crew on board. The trip was meant to take just 41 hours. However, when it didn't arrive at the scheduled time and didn't send any message, it was declared missing. But more than a month had passed before it was found by a search and rescue mission on November 10, 1955. The Joyita was found near Samoa. It was miles away from its intended route, but not a single person was found there. Also, one of the most remarkable details about the Joyita was the significant damage to its rudder. One side of the ship was positioned upward, while the other side was almost submerged in water. The ship's radio was also damaged, and this could be the reason why it was no longer able to call for help. But despite the damaged parts of the ship, not a single body or person was found on board. The lifeboats and some of the life rafts were also missing. However, the personal belongings of the passengers and crew were left inside the ship. There are some theories that suggest there may have been an internal mechanical failure that caused panic among the passengers, which forced them to abandon the ship. There are also many speculations that an incident may have occurred that caused the death of everyone on board the Joyita, and they were never found because of the vastness of the ocean. Number 6. SS Faro. The SS Faro is a container ship built in 1975 with a capacity of up to 31,515 gross tons. The ship is operated by Toti Maritime and is used for voyages between Jacksonville, Florida, and Puerto Rico. However, on September 29, 2015, the SS Faro left Jacksonville to go to Puerto Rico despite the threat of the approaching Typhoon Joaquin. Typhoon Joaquin quickly intensified from a tropical storm to a Category 4 hurricane as it approached the Bahamas, where the SS Faro was also headed. But despite the warnings and the expected path of the storm, the ship's captain, Michael Davidson, still continued with their voyage. Meanwhile, on October 1, 2015, the ship was caught in a powerful storm with huge waves and strong winds reaching up to 115 knots. In the ship's final hours, it experienced a mechanical failure that caused a loss of propulsion and also made it vulnerable to the severe sea conditions. Because of this, Captain Davidson contacted the authorities using a satellite phone to inform them of their situation and asked for help. He said that the ship was listing because water was entering from a breach and the engine was no longer working either. Despite the crew's efforts to control the situation, the condition of the ship got even worse. So on the morning of October 1, 2015, the authorities received the final call from SS Faro, and they said that the ship was slowly sinking. Because of this, the Coast Guard immediately launched a large-scale search and rescue operation. However, they did not find the ship or its 33 crew members. The Faro completely sank, bringing with it all the crew, which included 28 Americans and 5 Filipinos. In addition, on November 1, 2015, the National Transportation Safety Board, or National Transportation Safety Board, found the wreckage of the SS Faro at a depth of 15,000 feet under the sea near Crooked Island in the Bahamas. In connection with this, the recovery of the ship's voyage data recorder, which was found in April 2016, provides important information about the final hours of El Faro. Number 7. Motor vessel Derbyshire. The motor vessel Derbyshire is a large bulk carrier built in 1976 at Hudong Zhonghua Shipbuilding in Shanghai, China. This ship was owned by Bibeline, a well-known shipping company in the United Kingdom. Its total length reaches 294 meters, and its width is 44 meters. Aside from that, this ship has a capacity of over 180,000 tons. This is also an example of the supertankers built in the 1970s that were designed to transport large volumes of iron ore from mines to steel factories around the world. Meanwhile, on September 9, 1980, a typhoon occurred in the Philippine Sea, but the motor vessel Derbyshire continued to sail from Septiles, Quebec, Canada, to Kawasaki, Japan, carrying a cargo of iron ore. But when it disappeared from radar and was unable to send any distress signal, the authorities launched a massive search and rescue operation to find the ship. But no trace of the ship or the crew members was found. In connection with this, all 42 crew members and the 2 wives of crew members who were on the trip are considered missing and were later declared dead. And after the disappearance of motor vessel Derbyshire, many speculations and theories emerged about the cause of the ship sinking. Some say that the ship lacked proper maintenance or that there was a structural weakness that was not immediately detected. So in 1994, the families of the missing crew members cooperated with the authorities to conduct an investigation. In connection with this, the United Kingdom government, together with marine engineers, conducted an expedition to learn more about the seabed, the area of the sea where the ship is believed to have sunk. And in 1997, they found the remains of motor vessel Derbyshire at a depth of 4,200 meters. In addition, the results of the investigation say that the ship sank due to strong waves and structural failure. 8. Motor vessel Yanseng. The motor vessel Yanseng is a cargo ship that was found abandoned on the coast of Queensland, Australia, on March 24, 2006. The ship was completely empty and there were no crew members on board. It is an 80-meter-long bulk carrier named Yanseng, but there is no information indicating that it is registered or who owns it. The ship was found by an Australian customs aircraft, which was conducting a routine surveillance flight. Afterwards, a vessel from the Australian Maritime Safety Authority was immediately dispatched to inspect the ship. They also discovered that it had no documents, identification, or any signs of identity that are usually found on an operational vessel. Likewise, the ship's engine was no longer working and it appeared to have been empty for a long time. However, inside the ship they found food and water, which suggested that the crew may have left it suddenly. Some equipment, such as the radio and navigational tools, were also missing. Aside from this, there were also no signs of foul play or any kind of struggle on the ship. And according to the authorities, there is also a strong possibility that the ship was used for illegal activities such as smuggling or illegal fishing. In addition, the Australian Customs Service and the Australian Federal Police also did not find any information that could explain how the ship ended up in the place where it was found. They also could not find any connection to any shipping registry in the world. According to some theories, the ship may have been used for a transshipment operation where illegal cargo is transferred from one ship to another in the middle of the sea. Despite this, due to the lack of additional information, the authorities decided to just abandon the ship. But what really is the true reason why the ship sank? Number 9. SS Edmund Fitzgerald. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald was an American Great Lakes freighter that became famous because of the tragedy it suffered on November 10, 1975, when it sank in Lake Superior. This ship was 729 feet long and had a capacity to carry more than 26,000 tons of cargo. It was also named after Edmund Fitzgerald, a well-known businessman and chairman of the board of the company that commissioned the ship, known as Northwestern Mutual. The Edmund Fitzgerald was launched on June 7, 1958. After that, it was used to transport iron ore from the mines in Duluth, Minnesota to towns like Detroit, Toledo, and other cities around the Great Lakes. Meanwhile, on the very day of the tragedy, the Edmund Fitzgerald was on its way to Detroit from Superior, carrying 26,116 tons of iron ore pellets. The captain of the ship was Ernest M. McSorley, and he was also a veteran seaman. However, a strong storm met them on Lake Superior, with winds reaching up to 50 knots and waves as high as 35 feet. On the night of November 10, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald began to experience various problems. According to reports, some say that there was a severe leak on the ship and it lost communication. Around 7 to 10 in the evening, the Edmund Fitzgerald lost contact with other ships in the area, and after a few hours, it was confirmed missing. In connection with this, no distress signal was sent, so none of the 29 crew members survived. Therefore, some say that the sinking of the ship may have been due to structural failure, overloading, and the possibility that it may have hit an underwater shoal. Because of this, the National Transportation Safety Board and the Coast Guard conducted investigations, but they did not find enough evidence. At present, the remains of Edmund Fitzgerald can be found at the bottom of Lake Superior, and this area is considered an underwater preserve. Number 10, motor vessel Svenborg Maersk. The motor vessel Svenborg Maersk is a container ship owned by Maersk Line, one of the largest shipping companies in the world. This ship was built in 1998 and is also part of Maersk's S-Class fleet, with the capacity to carry approximately 8,160 20-foot equivalent unit. The motor vessel Svenborg Maersk is also an important part of the global supply chain, transporting various types of cargo, from electronics and clothing to raw materials and agricultural products. Meanwhile, in February 2014, while in the Bay of Biscay, this ship sank due to a strong storm. The wind speed reached up to 60 knots while the waves reached up to 10 meters high. Due to the severe sea conditions, the ship lost its balance, and this resulted in the loss of more than 500 tons. These are the containers in the sea. In addition, the weight of the containers contributed further to its sinking. The loss of the containers had a serious impact, not only on the environment, but also on Maersk's clients who were relying on their shipments. The lost containers contained various products, including consumer goods as well as hazardous materials, which could cause pollution in the sea. After this, Maersk Line immediately conducted an investigation to determine the cause of the ship's sinking. Despite this, because of the sinking of motor vessel Svenborg Maersk, this incident served as a reminder to shipping companies that they should prioritize the safety of their crew and cargo.